Welcome to the Paradigm Shift, Conquering Fear. I'm your host, Mia Saenz, and with me this segment is Dr. Georgina Cannon. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It's wonderful to see you. Georgina she has her doctorate in metaphysical counseling, yes, and she does hypnotherapy and past life regressions, interlife, which we'll get to hear more about the differences between things. And she's an author of this book.
Yay! My third book too.
Isn't that great? Return Again. And I love that. And I don't share. This is the first one that I've shared on air for the summit because her agent sent it to me. So you get those little extra perks. So thank you so much for joining us. And would you share with us your journey, how you got to where you are today, and the love of helping people?
Oh, I grew up in England, which you may have guessed.
I did guess that.
And in England, we grow up knowing that there's more than we seem. We are more than we seem. We know that there are ghosts and goblins and fairies at the bottom of the garden, and we sort of take it for granted. We just know that. And it's not a problem to talk about things like that. In fact, sometimes we claim that some of these beings have inhabited the political party, and that's what's causing the problem. When I came to Canada, I was quite shocked to find out that people didn't really even talk about it or believe in it. So I sort of stored it away. I was a journalist in England, by the way, and I was a journalist when I first came to Canada, and then started a PR company and had some fun doing that, and it grew very nicely. And that company was bought by a very large PR company, worldwide PR company, called Burson Marsteller, which it's no longer in Canada. At one point they decided they didn't want to be here or in India. They sort of put us together. I don't know why, but they did. And they decided to close us down. And I didn't want to move to Washington, and I didn't want to move to New York. Nothing wrong with either of those cities, except this is my home. So I stayed here, and I thought, well, I don't know, what am I going to do? I want to do something that benefits humankind. I've been working for a long time in the corporate world, and I did like it. It was very exciting, but I needed something more enriching. So I looked around and found Reiki, and I became a Reiki master. I became a color therapy practitioner. I learned Gestalt therapy. I did a lot of training in Gestalt. And then I happened upon hypnosis, and it really was eureka. I really wanted to make this my work for the rest of my life because it empowers the person. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just the facilitator. I'm the person that shows you to your seat in the theater or whatever, and you find your way there. And I got so excited by it that after taking the course, within weeks, I'd opened a school to teach others, and because I'd taken the training as well, and I'd opened up a clinic. And that's nearly 20 years ago now. And I sold the business 2 years ago to focus on my writing, and I still see clients 3 times a week, 3 days a week, and on Skype. But along the way, I realized that this was an access to the superconscious. So I took some training with Michael Newton and with Henry Bolduc, which is, so I learned the past life and the life between lives and got the accreditation for that. This is now many years ago. And then started looking at other forms of regression. So regression back into the womb, regression back into early life, which is part of Gestalt therapy, but also DNA regression. So I'm doing that. That's my
brilliant
next one after next book that's coming along. And so that's where I am. And every day is exciting. And every day I am so grateful and humbled that people, and this is not bullshit. Oh, am I allowed to say that?
Yes, you are.
This is not BS. I'm very pragmatic.
I love that.
I'm very grateful that people allow me in their life and all their lives. It's very, it's awe-inspiring. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, and we can feel that.
Yes.
You can feel when you're with someone who is there just for love, as opposed to, say, make money or get their name known. It's totally different. The energy's different. So I'm grateful you're here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This is really quite a thrill for me because there are those who learn through studying 100 different people. There are those who believe that they have to read a million different books, but yet they don't adhere it to their soul, their being. And then there are those of us, and I say us because I'm more of a divine intuitive, only meaning that, or how I say it, is that I get my senses from meditation, prayer, and talking to the divine, my higher source. And so I love that you talked, which I want to know a little bit more about, of the like the cellular or the DNA aspect of it, because that's something that's come to me in the last year, that even exists. And because I know my past lives, and I've been in regression, had regressions before, but as a little girl, things would come to me. I was the most intuitive of our family, and people used to say, "Oh, she's a witch." Ridiculous to even tell a child that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, couldn't you just see that I was lovely and light and beautiful? It's not that I ever, you know, and everybody would say, "You're just so sweet." It's not like there was any darkness there at all. And there's, you know, this fear around all of this. People think it's superstitious garbage, when truly we all have the same abilities if we get to a certain level and frequency, that we can just open up and be these vessels of light that can bring in and bring out, just as the universe breathes, this magical stuff. So you just excited me to talk, so go ahead, please.
First of all, I want to take you to task on the witch thing. Witches are not dark or evil. Witches, that's an image, a PR image that was put out by the church in medieval times. Witches truly are women who've used herbs and flowers to heal over time and are in tune with the seasons and with the earth, with Mother Earth. I'm not a witch, I'm not a Wiccan, but I do know many, and they're far from evil. They are not dark. They are all for helping and preserving the planet.
And many of us already do holistic things, which is what that is.
Yes, indeed.
It's beautiful. And then there's a sense of, it's amazing what comes to me in my dreams, you know, because we do, in our past lives, in our current life, we remember things. And we remember brilliant things. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's deeply moving. There are times when I have clients in my office, and they're crying out of awe, and I'm crying along with them, although they don't know that because they have their eyes closed, and I don't sob out loud, but, you know, the tears just sort of roll down. It's so awe-inspiring what they discover. Yesterday I was talking to a group of women, must have been about 20, 24, 25 women who were over 55, and they were at a university for extended learning opportunities. And they asked me to come in to talk about the subconscious mind and the connection to the body. And I thought, what a terrific opportunity to spread the word.
Yes.
So I went over and started talking about regression and how regression is so important in understanding ourselves, whether it be regression into this life, to age 2, 3, or 4, or into your mother's womb, or into a past life. And they started getting very fearful when I started talking about a past life. And when I investigated that, I discovered that they didn't want to go close to it because for some of them, they'd lost some loved ones, a parent or a husband. In 2 cases, it was a husband. And they started to weep when I started to talk about past lives. And I did a lot of comforting and helping them understand that if it's energy and if it's only process. We're no different than the flowers or the trees or any other animal that goes back to the earth, in the case of a flower, and is reborn, and we go back into the universe. So when they've lost a loved one, they are very vulnerable and want to, in some cases, want to stay far away from the subject because they think they're going to break down and become, look stupid or whatever in front of people. And when I started talking about how we are is energy and it's an evolvement, and if they really close their eyes and ask to connect with this beloved person, they will hear messages and they will hear things and feel things, and it will always be love. And afterwards, I had quite a few people come and talk to me afterwards and ask how they did that. And I asked them to contact me, and I would give them a script or give them something that would help them do that for themselves. Well, they could come see me, but they could certainly do it for themselves. And it's not maudlin. And I kept saying it's not holding on to your grief. Don't let anybody talk you out of this. You can talk to this beloved person and feel their energy because they feel yours.
That's lovely.
So it got rid of their fear.
Good. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's amazing how fearful people can be with the concept that what they've learned in their paradigm, which is part of this Conquering Fear Summit is about, is to step outside of what we were taught from early on and to embrace what the possibilities, even just the possibilities, before we can accept what's truly out there. But when people are totally closed off, they can't get it. I mentioned to you right before we came on air that I lost my sister a couple years ago because she saw my lifestyle as a spiritual person evil. And so, and that I would be going to hell. And and that's, again, right there is not based in love. So if God is love, if the divine is love, how could that concept even exist, to separate from somebody totally? It's sad. And there's a lot of fear, obviously, based around the concept of how beautiful when we open up our lives to remembering that there is, and it. So
it dissolves. One of my clients, I have such wise clients. One of my clients said, because I always ask, "Are you spiritual?" And they say yes, and I say, "How are you spiritual?" And this gentleman said, "Well, I do believe in God. It's just the people in between that I don't believe in." And I thought that was so good.
That's beautiful. Don't they become our teachers? The students become our teachers, and we just go round and round in a cycle. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So I said, "May I use that?" And he said, "Absolutely." So it's in my next newsletter anyway.
Yay! That's beautiful, because that's absolutely true. That's what most of us have realized who are spiritual, that has ruined, I guess, the whole spiritual concept is religion. But that's all right. We're not here to debate.
It's not any religion. I think it's guru.
It's the man. Well,
it's guru. And anybody, from my point of view, anybody who sets themselves up as a guru, who says, "Follow me, I'm the one that has all the answers," watch out. Okay?
Right. I'm the way. Yeah.
So it is I, whether you're Indian or Chinese or white or black, I don't care.
Right.
The person themselves has the answers if you go within. And so I think that religion is a form of guruism, if you like. Honestly, I'm the only one that has the answers. Nonsense.
Right, exactly. And if you go within, let's talk about going within, because within our being, our consciousness, or you can explain the different levels better than I can, but that is where we truly can remember everything and all things.
We are all things. And when we really understand that, I'll give you a story. I love stories, because stories are...
Me too.
One of my clients, who was a banker, had come to me because he couldn't sleep. And we did a lot of work around that, and it turned out it wasn't about sleep, it was about something else, but it always is about something else. And one day he came in and he said, "I know you're going to think I'm crazy, Georgina, but I saw a tree yesterday." And I said, "Yeah?" And he said, I saw the tree. I saw the roots, I saw the trunk, I saw the leaves, and I saw how it breathes through the leaves." He said, "Am I losing my mind?" I said, "Actually, no, you've just gained yourself."
Yes.
Just gained yourself.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so lovely. And regarding the beauty of nature, it's so magnificent when we can get to that place. I love walks because I see things so differently. Mm-hmm. There are times when I'm more inspired than others, of course. Mm-hmm. And I remember after reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, that walk that I took after that I cried, because I could literally see everything even more vibrant, not just the trees, but the wall and the people and houses, and everything seems so different.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to bring ourselves back and to live into that conscious awareness of right now in the moment. It's truly beautiful. I wanted to share briefly because I think it's beautiful, and I've talked about it before. I can't remember when or where over the last year or two, but a couple years ago, and I guess I'm giving a little bit more detail, but a couple years ago, I had come out of the dark night of my soul. I had a partner who I was living with off and on, and he left. And so about a year later, I went on a spiritual retreat, and my vortex had already opened. That's what I call it. And I started meeting, people started coming in who I'd been partners with, and all these memories started flooding in. I went into the house of Krishnamurti and on this retreat, and it was just magnificent of my connection with his soul, not as Krishnamurti, but before that, a couple thousand years ago. And I saw a painting in his house inspired by her. It was a magnolia. And so I was inspired to do that was a gift to myself, to do a huge painting of 48 by 48 inch oil. And I've never painted before. So I went into meditation, and I knew that we know all anyways, and I've been a painter and artist. So I went in and I just started asking myself questions and just living in the beauty of the flow of movement. And so the next day I went to the paint store, and not the paint store, the art store, and I bought my canvas, and I started looking at the colors I wanted. I knew the concept, and so I asked for help because I was like, I don't know which brushes to use. I feel the strokes, but I can't remember which. So the man said, where did you go to art school? Because I told him all this stuff. And I said, well, if I told you actually how I came about this, you wouldn't believe it. I did tell him, of course, because I, like you, love to share stories. I think that life is experiential. When we share and give from our heart, that's when others have a glimpse and they can change their life. I've changed my life by seeing others' experiences, so it's truly amazing. But I taught myself how to paint through bringing myself back to knowing that I already knew, and living those moments. So that was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, one of my clients, just to pick up on that, is a medical doctor, and he, for as long as he can remember, has had migraine headaches, and his teeth hurt, and they've never been able to find what the cause is. So he came to see me. He was sent to me by someone. He came to see me, and he immediately went. He wasn't even in the hypnosis chair. We were just chatting. I said, "Close your eyes and go into the pain." He immediately went back to being in a studio in, I think, 18th century, 17th century, I can't remember now. And he was in Holland, and he was painting a portrait. And he could see it, and I asked him what his name was. He said he wasn't sure, but it began with an H. And he saw the portrait he was painting, and suddenly he said, "Oh my goodness, I'm putting the brush in my mouth. I'm giving myself lead poisoning." So the doctor part of him sort of checked in, and he died in what he said was a crazy house of lead poisoning, with black teeth and bones aching and, really in a major pain. So it's that close to the surface all the time. If only we can reach into it, if only we allow to reach into it, it's there. And our goal as teachers, facilitators, leaders, whatever you want to call us, is to help shine or clear the way so that people can get there. My slogan, when people ask me what I do, I say I help people find their magnificence. That's my job. I help them find themselves.
It's beautiful. When you said that, I'm not sure why, but I had a glimpse of Van Gogh, and how that is one of the major reasons why people thought he was insane. It just came to me so clearly. How I know that, I can't be exact at the moment, but as an empath and an intuitive, that just popped in, and I just, wow.
Yeah.
It's truly amazing when we open up our conscious level,
Indeed.
And to not be afraid, because it truly is all beautiful.
It's all fun too. I mean,
it is.
Let's not get too heavy here. It's fun when you touch into this stuff and you hear. And sometimes, because I'm clairaudient and I get these messages, I have to say, "Go away, guys. I'm busy." especially if I'm with a client, go away. Yeah, thank you for that, but not right now. And very much like the phone call.
Yeah.
So, it has to wait, and we are in charge, but it's fun, and it's a responsibility, no question. We have to operate from integrity, no question.
Right.
But it's not heavy duty. It's joyful. It's great.
It is. I tell myself when, or at least in the beginning when I was enjoying discovering who I was, and then, if we don't live in a certain space continuously, we falter, we go back, we take steps backwards. And so I remember saying to myself, where do I want to live my life? Do I want to live my life in joy and this beautiful found realization of creation that I've discovered within myself, or do I want to go back to the life I had before? And you don't know this, but many of the viewers know that I had a very abusive childhood, incredibly abusive. I shouldn't even be here. But my story is that I help others cross over into joy and beauty. So when I discovered my gift was so grand to help others, that's where I decided to live. So where do we want to live? Where do we want to? Do we want to live in fear and confusion and shame, or do we want to step into the light, into the beauty?
Well, some people don't even know how to get out of it, though. And I find that with a lot of work that I do, not only in the clinic, but as you know, I work on sometimes on the chat room with Shirley MacLaine, and we get a lot of people writing in and saying, yes, but how do I change that? I don't like being here, but I don't know what else to do. They don't even know the questions to ask. So I think we have to be aware of that. And that's one of the reasons that when I write in a very accessible style. I'm really not writing from a place, my purpose is not to write from a place of knowing. My purpose is to write from a place of helping you find your way through it. And the books I write are usually interactive. And by which I mean at the end of every chapter there's usually something that says, what did you think of that? Is there any part of this that resonates with you? If so, then think about what that might do. So it's all very interactive, because I think we have to meet people where they are. And there's nothing worse than being a born-again spiritual person, who knows it all, who really thinks
arrogance.
And we know them. I know them anyway.
Yes.
And it's very important, even for the client who goes through a past life and an interlife, they come out with such amazing knowledge that if they're not very careful, they can be really a pain in the butt, because they can go around saying things like, well, of course, I know the truth.
It's how do you want to be? Do you want to be humble and loving and be the conduit for the divine, or do you want to be an arrogant poop? Seriously, I mean.
And I say, the best way to teach it is by absorbing it into the way you live, not by talking about it.
Right.
So if you really have discovered this, then live that, and don't become like a reformed smoker. Don't go around making everybody else feel bad because they're not where you are.
Right.
So I think that's part of our work. I think part of our work is to meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the individual's growth, is to discover their limits, their boundaries, and where they need to shift into grace instead of crassness. I don't know what the right word is, but we all, I remember with, I had mentioned about going into the dark night of my soul some years back, and with that partner, I've traveled with him the most, and he had absolutely no clue about, in this lifetime, I guess he wanted a rest or whatever. No clue of anything. Just couldn't understand how our connection was so strong and how his life was different around me. So when I started to tell him things that I was discovering during that time, he freaked out, totally freaked out. So we have to be aware of, but we need those examples sometimes to for us as individuals to learn our limits and our space in which we share, and which we share gracefully, and who's ready and who's not ready, and to fit perfectly in, instead of being a bull in a china shop, to fit gracefully in the realm of our life. Because if we're not graceful, people don't want to be around us, period. I mean, any person who's not graceful, people don't want to be around them. So that's interesting that you brought that up, because that is so true especially for newbies, to just be woohoo, gung-ho, you know?
Yeah, well, of course, and they come in and they'll say,
would you like to share your free gift with us?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The free gift, yes, I'm happy to be able to give the gift of a script, a hypnosis script, that the people can record for themselves with their own voice, and I will tailor it to them. So if they have procrastination, or they want to lose a little weight, or they want to reduce a fear that they have, feel more self-confident, I'm very happy to put that in to a self-hypnosis script that I will send to them by email, and they can record it.
That's beautiful. That's so lovely. Thank you so much. Before you leave us, would you like to share one last thought with us that just spontaneously came to you?
Oh, sure. Please remember who you truly are. Please remember that you are magnificent. Your body's magnificent. It works, usually pretty well. And your spirit is connected to all there is. You are magnificent.
Thank you. That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you in the next segment. Bye.
Great.